So I ran into Jeff all the way from Adelaide, and I thought it was a great opportunity to capture a little bit of time with him on our Silverback Series, of course. And the difference with Jeff is that he's come from a couple of different trades. So perhaps, Jeff, you could give me a bit of an insight into where you started and how you got into the resin flooring side of things.
Originally, I started doing concrete, pouring it, mainly residential. And then from there, went to doing tiling and plastering.
Very good.
And then I went back to concrete, doing concrete again. But I didn't want to go back to the heavy side of it.
Yes.
Wheelbarrows and screeds and stuff like that. Because I'm getting a little bit older now. So
smarter too, perhaps.
Maybe. So I went back to because I knew that from the day one how the concrete actually works, because dealing with it, the drying times, how much is aerated. So when I came to do my surfaces on there, I had a pretty good idea how it would react and what strength is the best to put it down to put a coating on top.
Yep.
The best strength that we found was 25 yards. So that had enough strength in it so you could get a good finish on it, and therefore the top would bind to the epoxy or whatever coating you put on top.
Yep.
So from there we just developed more ways of doing toppings.
Yep.
We did epoxy toppings with a bit like a terrazzo.
Okay.
So
as in a physical 6mm plus trail down type of thing, and polishing it back.
And polishing back. So we did that, but that was with an epoxy. It wasn't actually with a cementous base.
Like half of America is terrazzo that's epoxy base.
Epoxy base, that's right, yeah. And but originally we used to do it with cement base many years ago, and that was hard work, polishing that up, especially by hand. The codes, you're there forever.
Okay.
Trying to get a sheet on. So that's basically where.
Okay. So concreting to tiling. You talked about some pool coating work, I think. You mentioned that previously.
Yeah,
and then resin flooring or resurfacing. Across all of those different sort of trades, what's some of the things that you felt were adaptable to the next trade that really helped? Perhaps some of the differences that you realise are weaknesses in one trade but strengths in the other. Like, what was your sort of perspective on that?
I think the most what about all the other trades is the putting it together to make sure that things don't fail. I think the biggest strength I had was knowing the mixtures of concretes and mortars. So that's helped a lot. From each trade, I've taken things from it to try and make this trade at the moment, the epoxy, as efficient as I can.
Yeah, that insight into the concreting process and being able to assess concrete at that time of quotation is really critical, because it dictates everything that flows on after you've won the job. And I think you have a wonderful insight there. And as part of the Silverback Series, of course, you are passing that on because you've got your son working in your business too.
Yeah, so that's good. And no two concretes, as you know, are the same.
Totally.
Yeah, so it's quite interesting how they change from 1 square metre to another in some cases.
Yeah.
And the way they've been, now that they're put down and you've got young fellas coming in with helicopters on them, and they make it quite wavy, and it's very challenging to get it straight again. So that's good.
Well, one last question on the concreting side, because I speak to a lot of people around the country that have a bit of insight into it, and it can be from their backgrounds. But one thing that they become really focused on is how the concrete seems to be different from region to region. I talk to guys in Tasmania, Sydney and Queensland. We seem to have horrible concrete in many instances there, but you've been to WA, or you've lived and worked in WA, and also in Adelaide. What sort of differences did you see there?
I think when we were doing concrete in WA, because they've got so much sand there and so many different types of sand, I think the concrete was a lot stronger, because the sand used to bind to the aggregate a lot better and a lot creamier. And And then here, then in South Australia, it's a lot hungrier, the sand. And probably from the last 20 odd years, maybe 30 years, it's changed because there's so much chemicals in there now.
Okay. Yep.
It bleeds a lot. It goes hard on you if you're not on your metal. It can go hard and you can lose the whole show.
Yep.
So you always got to be ahead of it. As before, there was a time that it would take to go off and you just follow it along.
Yep.
Whereas now it can go bang.
Is that because they want the fast turnarounds now and get in and get out, that type of thing?
No, well, that's part of it. But also, I think there's too many chemicals and not enough cement in there. So they've engineered it because Portland cement is expensive. So if they can put more chemicals in less Portland cement, they can make.
Very good. Well, Jeff, I appreciate your time. You add a different dimension to the Silverback series because of the different trades that you've been involved with. So glad that I had the moment there to talk to you about it.
Thank you very much.
I look forward to having further discussions with you in the future and see where it all goes.
Thank you very much.